let me go ahead and go over to this article that I want to read that was just posted on the Daily Beast in regards to Ryan Madison, because this is interesting. There is something going on right now within the adult entertainment industry to where a lot of males are being accused of rape and abuse on set and off set, but more so than in the past. Actually, I made a list of who all has been attacked lately, and I don't think really any of these people are good people, but there is something going on, and it either has to do with a lot of women just starting to regret their choices of having gone into the adult entertainment industry or being unhappy with their lives, which is justifiable. Or it could also have to do with wanting to assemble lawsuits or settle out of court legal situations to where amounts of money can be extracted from some of these men or their studios. Because, you know, times are tough right now, especially for adult entertainers because of the pandemic, but also just because of the state of the world today. So, yeah, let's see who all's been, tossed in the spotlight lately. All right, Ron Jeremy. Did he have it coming? Yeah. Ryan Madison, like I said, this is the husband of a woman known as Kelly Madison. I actually view Kelly Madison as being more predatory than Ryan would be, and I'll get into that in a bit. John Stagliano, that's been going on for years. But Manuel Ferreira, I'd heard shit about him. Definitely, without a doubt, his wife, Kaden, has issues. I will admit, I'm on the fence when it comes to Manuel Ferreira. I think he's a certain kind of guy, not someone I would ever want to be friends with. Not anybody I would ever want to know. But I think someone is trying to get some money out of him. Recently, a guy named Jack Slayer was accused of some things. I think when it comes to James Dean, I actually have to put James Dean and Ryan Madison in a similar category. Reason being that they both were cultivated into the monsters that they've become. I think some of the women, when it comes to James Dean, told the truth, but I don't think that they all did. Bree Mills, she's a female, not a male, but, you know, she wants to dress like a guy. I don't think all the accusations against Bree are legitimate. I think some people want money out of her. When I look at the real abusers in the industry, oftentimes they don't have money at all. And they project a very feminine exterior. Mrs. Kelly Pierce, that's one. Alana Evans is one too. Alright, so let's read this article. This was posted on the Daily Beast. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's titled, 10 Women Accuse Porn Star Ryan Madison of Sexual Abuse. There was blood everywhere. Dun dun dun! And it probably doesn't help that he's cultivated a look for himself a little bit along the lines of American Psycho. Oh, yeah. But before I get started reading this, and I will, interject with my commentary as I do read through this article, I don't think he's innocent. I don't think he's innocent in the least, but I view his wife as being far more of a predator than he ever would be. There's a substantial age difference between them as well. Actually, let me look it up. I'm curious as to what the age difference is, but when you look at them, regardless of the work that the wife has had done, you can see it. Yeah, he's 43. Let me see how old Kelly Madison is. I think she's about 50. She got him young. Be careful dating older women, men. Yeah, she's 52. She's 52, so that's about a 9-year age difference there. And look, it would not surprise me in the least if she's a bit behind getting these allegations out there about him, because she might be about ready to trade him in for a younger model. She might be. 10 women allege that the porn star violently abused them in the middle of shooting scenes, often after his wife lured them in with promises of a safe, female-fronted environment. This is written on the Daily Beast by Marlo Stern. Warning. So, okay, and I'm going to warn all y'all, too. Some of you out there may be triggered by what I'm about to share, okay? This article does contain graphic descriptions of sexual assault. It's a mainstream article. It's on the Daily Beast. But it's graphic. So if you don't want to hear something graphic, stop watching right now. On June 5th, the porn actress Annabelle Red shared a warning to her 79,000 strong Twitter following. Quote, "Do not watch my Pornfidelity scene. That man violated my boundaries." End quote. So let me give some commentary just to start. There is a small probability that this article could possibly be no more than creative marketing for the Pornfidelity empire. I will question that unless criminal charges are filed against Ryan Madison, because I'm talking about this tonight due to the element of white privilege possibly shielding Ryan Madison from any sort of legalities. You know, I mean, as I get into this article, you're going to see how horrific he allegedly is. But if he doesn't ever, get penalized in the legal system, then I have to question, is this true? Did white privilege shield him? Or was it creative marketing? She proceeded to accuse her scene partner, Ryan Madison, of finishing inside her a cream pie, in adult industry parlance, without her consent, and violently choking her until she couldn't breathe. Madison has considerable industry power with his wife. He runs a successful XXX production company, Kelly Madison Productions, which includes the brands Pornfidelity and Teenfidelity, and also directs the lion's share of his scenes. But Red's message managed to permeate porn's wall of silence, inspiring dozens of other performers to come forward with their own Madison horror stories. The Daily Beast interviewed 10 of these women, who accused the 43-year-old Madison of a range of violations, from coercion and brutal corporal abuse to sexual assault. So, I'm going to interject again. To the women out there who, for whatever reason, are not thinking clearly and are considering a future in the adult entertainment industry, don't do it. Because truthfully, what do you think porn really is? Sure, they want to paint the picture that there's all these women in control and that it's going to be this fun environment where everyone is just like getting along and it's like a community and all this kind of good stuff. Look, the truth about the porn industry is that it tends to be a catch-all for a lot of society's throwaways. It's okay to have a criminal history in the adult entertainment industry, okay? It's actually kind of celebrated. People who are sexually aggressive, hey, the men, they often get paid even more, you know? And A big problem that the adult entertainment industry has right now that they just don't want to acknowledge, aside from the race problem and aside from the misogyny issue, aside from the homophobia, really has to do with them casting women who are far too young and inexperienced and biologically not even prepared for scenes that are written for a woman who is far more mature than their years. All right? That is one of the primary issues. The types of sex that they are, instructing these young women who are often between the ages of 18 and 21 to have, biologically, they're not meant to have that kind of intercourse. They're not ready for it. They're not prepared for it. The kind of intercourse that the porn industry really wants to project, they need to be casting women who are 35 and up to take part in. Seriously. The reality is they want the young girls because the young girls are easier to psychologically dominate and control. An older woman, a woman like me, I was too old when I went in to begin with. I was already 29. All right? But imagine me on set today, please. If anything, I would be accused of sexual assault. I would. Let me finish this. Okay. This is the first account, okay? Her name's Kinsley Carter. Quote, "I truly did feel like I was in a horror movie. Oh, poor Kinsley." Kinsley Carter was ecstatic when Ryan Madison came calling last year. Quote, "I was really excited when they reached out on Twitter because Pornfidelity was one of the top companies on Pornhub, and I really needed the exposure at the time," she recalls. Carter, who was 21 and had only been acting in adult movies for a year, had no idea how far away the shooting location was until she ordered her Lyft. I'm going to interject there. How do you not have access to Google Maps, Kinsley? You didn't look up the address on your Google Maps to see what the driving time would be or the miles away it would be before you went out to the shoot? You just relied on your Lyft driver? Sorry, I'm not buying that part. Like many of the women who went on record for this article, she describes taking a ride share nearly 2 hours from Los Angeles to the Madison Mansion in Corona, California. Ooh. Things got even murkier when she arrived, she says. There was absolutely no clarification with whether I'd be okay with things like choking or rough sex. There's usually some type of communication before, but there was absolutely none at all, she says. All right, I'm going to stop here. There was no communication, not with her. Now, there is communication with other girls, as you'll see as I go further into this article, but not with Kinsley. And you want to know why? Or why I think it is? Because Kinsley looks a little bit like me. She's a black girl. And the way that the Madison shoots go, first the girl gets her hair and makeup and pretty girl photos, still photos, where she's solo, done with the women, because it's supposed to be like a women-run company, except for Ryan. But these are probably mostly white women. Kelly Madison is a blonde. She's constantly trying to be like Pamela Anderson. That's her look, okay? And Kelly might have had an issue with Kinsley, because a lot of times when older white women, especially in the adult industry, encounter a younger black woman, it's very intimidating to them because they know that the white guy in their life has this thing in their head of, ooh, fresh black meat. Yes, finally something different than this old blonde hag. It's true. I know I'm a little brash in how I said that, but that's just the psychology of the situation, okay? So she had that going on. Now, what Kinsley should have done prior to this shoot, however, was taking a look at some of the Pornfidelity scenes that Ryan is in. Ryan is known to be rough in his scenes. There's this one scene that he did with Brooklyn Lee that I saw a preview of years ago, and has something to do with apples, and he's abusing her, and then he throws her into a pool at the end. I think it was Ryan Madison who was the male in that scene. It was weird. There's another one that he did to where it's like he's a slave owner, like from pre-Civil War times, with a performer who was known as Skin Diamond, and they're in like this slave shack and he's doing shit to her. It's horrible. So, you know, it's not like it's not known, but Kinsley didn't do her research. She did not do her research. So there was no communication before the scene. You know, it's horrible. She probably should have just stayed a cam girl solo. Never should have gone into the industry to begin with. So let's continue. They began with a blowjob scene, and he was rough. So rough that my whole salad came up. End quote. She remembers. Quote, I was sitting there, covered in puke. So he rushed to the shower, turned it on, and I was in there for 10 minutes, just crying because I couldn't believe what was happening. I thought, wow, I woke up excited as hell to be here, and now I'm stuck with this man alone in the middle of nowhere. I truly did feel like I was in a horror movie. I bet she did. I bet she did. I hope that she has decided to go on with her life outside of the industry. I'll have to look at her Twitter later. Then came the sex portion, which was even rougher. Carter says she sensed that something wasn't right, as if her body was being torn to pieces. Then he asked, are you ready for me to come in you? She was confused. There's typically at least some discussion before a cum shot sequence. She reluctantly said yes, she says, because she didn't want to break character and didn't think he'd actually follow through with it. And he came inside her twice. Remember what I was talking about at the beginning of this podcast about white males in the industry getting black women pregnant on purpose and then coercing or forcing or pressuring them into having abortions later? The adult entertainment industry, which I've gone over in the past, is, has its foundations rooted in white supremacy. Something that they do in that world, the white males, and it is like a game for them, almost like a rite of passage, because they do laugh about it. They talk about it openly on forums. They think it's funny. They purposely target black women. They lure the women into thinking that they're having a relationship with them. They get the woman pregnant, and then they either force or coerce the woman into having an abortion. And as soon as she has the abortion, they go on their online forums and they laugh about it. I'm not lying. They get off on that. It's weird. It's like a rite of passage for them. It's a racist thing for them. It's a white supremacy badge of honor for them. It is. I was disgusted, she remembers. And when I got up from the bed, I could barely walk. I just cried in the lift all the way home. Then I went to the bathroom when I got home and realized there was blood everywhere on the toilet seat. He had ripped me apart. I was bleeding for the next 2 days, and it was difficult to pee or sit down. He definitely has to be my worst experience in porn. Now, she did not say if it was her time of the month or not, okay? But maybe he did. Maybe he did, because other women in this article say something similar. It makes me wonder, like, what is he doing to be ripping these girls apart? Is it because they're so tense that they're not comfortable and that's what's causing the bleeding? Or is there something on his that he puts on himself to hurt these girls? You know, there have been rumors of guys doing that kind of thing. So anyway, Kinsley Carter, that's what she claims happened to her. She says that she felt that she couldn't speak up because she was new and not established in the industry. Also because she's black. At the end of the day, no one else was on my side or knew what went on except for me and him. The main reason I'm speaking out now is because I didn't have any warning. I want to warn other girls about him, she says. Like Carter. Okay, so then it goes on to another girl. But I'll bet you it was more so Kelly who pressured these women into silence opposed to this guy, because this guy has basically he's been conditioned and groomed into being like a sexual animal, a maniac. You can just tell. And I think a lot of this also has to do with him consistently likely being around some older women. All right, let me go on to this next part. Lexi Lore. Lexi Lore was young, only 19, and new to porn, having been in the biz less than 3 months when she booked a scene with Madison. The scene was rough, more agonizing than any she'd experienced before, but it's what followed that really traumatized her, she says. After the scene, he asked me if I wanted to have sex with him. I told him, no, my Uber is 6 minutes away. But Madison wouldn't listen, she says. He grabbed me, took me to his couch, and had sex with me. Lore says she froze in terror. I was afraid to tell him no, because if I said no, I was afraid he'd just keep going, and it would make the situation a lot worse. So, you know, and what's interesting to me too with this, you have to think about the psychology behind some of this. First off, I wonder if Ryan has any children. Because as you'll see as we go on, he's like obsessed with finishing inside the girls, which could have to do with control, but it could also have to do with him wanting to be a dad, but maybe Kelly not ever having wanted to be a mom because of her career as super porn star of the world and being older. You know, these are young girls. Maybe he never got to be with any young girls because he'd been with Kelly for so long. And it's interesting that he wouldn't, you know, that he'd still want to have sex with the girl after the scene. It's interesting how she is able to differentiate, though, between the professional sex and the off-camera sex. She did not want that off-camera sex with him. He would have a hard time understanding that because she just performed with him. That's a problem a lot of men in the industry have. They cannot understand that the women that they work with oftentimes are not attracted to them because they figure, well, she performed with me, she must want me. 9 out of 10 times, nope. 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 So anyway, he wouldn't listen. She says, I had already said no once, and he didn't listen. I didn't want to have sex with the guy. Most guys take no as no usually. Ryan Madison is so well known as a rapist in the industry, but there are still agents who want to make money by sending girls to Ryan Madison's house without warning them that they're sending them to a rapist's house. That's a quote from this, okay? But none of this is new, okay? This has been going on in the adult entertainment industry forever. Like I said, there's a list of guys who have been doing this kind of stuff to girls. Maybe not this rough, but they're doing weird stuff to these young girls. Who was one recently? Stills by Allen. That whole thing that happened, which goes back to Bree Mills being a very, very, very bad judge of character. The whole thing with James Dean, the whole thing with John Stagliano, the whole thing with Manuel Ferreira. You know, it's crazy. It's like, who in the industry is not a rapist? Who? Let me think. Who definitely, that I can think of, I would definitely, beyond a shadow of a doubt, say that they are definitely not sexually aggressive or a rapist in any way within the adult entertainment industry. Let me really think about this. Who's nice? Who would not be scary? I can't think of anybody, because they're all scary in their own way. All of them. It just depends on who you are. There's some women who are more intimidating, who are more self-possessed, to where they don't have issues because they do embody a certain level of confidence and a no-nonsense approach. But then you have these meek little girls who are new to the industry, who are barely 18, who the men look at like a big juicy steak that they just want to eat. That's what it is. Laura says her experience with Madison has, like many in the industry, haunted her. She wonders why, given his reputation as a predator, agents kept sending them their young, vulnerable female clients into harm's way. Why? Well, because the Madisons probably pay standard rates plus some. You know, they're doing well. Also, they're Caucasian. They enjoy white privilege. That's why. That's why. Come on. Ryan Madison is so well known as a rapist in the industry, she says. But there are still agents who want to make money by sending girls to Ryan Madison's house without warning them that they're sending them to a rapist's house. It needs to stop. Agents need to band together and agree not to send girls to him. Of course they want to send the girls to him because he desensitizes them too with all this roughness. Kind of trains them to keep their mouths shut. Just take it and shut up. That's what the agents want the girls to experience, because it makes it easier for them later to send them to both legitimate shoots that are equally, if not more so, rough, and also private engagements, aka escorting gigs, where they get treated horrifically. And there's no evidence on camera to show how bad they were treated. Jane Wilde was also 19 and brand new to the industry when she shot with Madison in March of 2018, having only acted in adult films for a month. She describes arriving at a house filled with women, including Madison's wife and business partner, Kelly, a 52-year-old adult industry veteran. Immediately, I was greeted by the women preparing the paperwork. A PA who was a woman, the makeup artist was a woman, and they had a hairstylist who was a woman. And the wife greeted me, Wilde recalls. They had all women on set, so I felt empowered. It really made me put my guard down. Then I left the house of women, and that's when it started to get really predatory. And that's interesting how they have this set up. They have two houses? They left the house of women. I assumed before reading this article that this was all happening on one estate, but there's two houses. It makes me wonder, like, is the other house on the same estate? Is this like a big ranch? Is it a neighborhood? Why would he need another house? It makes me think like Kelly and Ryan aren't really a couple anymore. Maybe they're not really living together. Or someone has a problem with the sex occurring in their residence, which kind of defeats the whole point of Pornfidelity. I thought it was all supposed to be about like, hey, they're this happy swinging sort of sexy couple doing all this kind of stuff and they're each okay with it. They're bringing other people into their marriage. See, it's all a lie. It's all a big fat lie. Okay. So they leave the house, and that's when it started to get really predatory. Many of the women the Daily Beast spoke to accused Madison of introducing young female talent to his wife, who also occasionally does hair and makeup and/or handles their paperwork, to create a false sense of security that immediately evaporates when they're transported to his home 5 minutes down the road where he shoots his scenes. The Madisons did not respond to multiple emails, calls, and DMs requesting comment for this report. So it seems like the premise of this piece is to shift all the blame on the guy. But like I said in the beginning, and it could be that Ryan Madison is this American psycho, complete monster, completely manipulative, has this agenda from the very beginning to, use Kelly, poor Kelly Madison. Oh, Kelly, poor Kelly, just as a big victim in the entire thing, to where she gets used as a front to feed Ryan's, insatiable lust for rough sex. Real quick, I'm going to look. I want to see how long Ryan Madison has been in the industry. Let's go to IAFD to find out. He started at 27 from 2003 to 2020. Let's see what his earlier work was. Was it always Kelly? Starting to look that way. He worked for something called Juicy Entertainment also. I'm just trying to figure out how long he's been with this woman, because something's not quite right about this entire story. He came in through her. Okay. Kelly and Lana's first threesome, 2003. So she owns him. He's been with her from the start. So even, just a theory. And I'm not forgiving him or excusing him. I just like to look at things from a multitude of perspectives. He could want to leave her at this stage. She could want to get rid of him, but he could also want to leave her. And if he wanted to leave her and she didn't want to let him go, she would make sure that she completely obliterates his reputation so that no one else would want to work with him anymore in the future. Also, so he would be looked at unfavorably in the legal sphere should he decide to attempt to take her to court for the portion of the business that he would rightfully own, because she is the headliner. It's all about Kelly Madison. The woman is always the draw when it comes to the adult entertainment industry. But he's been the male talent all this time, probably for the majority of the scenes shot. Because if you notice in this article, not very much is said about Kelly, with the exception of, oh, she creates this environment to where I feel like I'm lured into this realm of safety. And then when the girl goes to shoot with Ryan, it doesn't seem like Kelly is there. Who's holding the camera? Is it all POV? Does he just put it on a tripod? Does he have the cameras mounted around his house or something? I'm going to have to look at the content myself because I'm curious about this. Because she could feasibly say, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that he was being so rough with these girls. It seemed to me like everything was just A-okay. Tee-hee-hee. I'm blonde with big boobs. Look at me. I'm innocent. That's what they do. All right, let's get back to this. All right. Many of the women the Daily Beast spoke to accused Madison of introducing the young female talent to his wife, who also occasionally does hair and makeup and/or handles their paperwork, to create a false sense of security that immediately evaporates when they're transported to his home 5 minutes down the road where he shoots his scenes. It's a strange dynamic when a guy is trying to hurt women and is using his wife to make him seem more trustworthy, says Wild. Why would she think this? I mean, she is a young girl. So, I mean, even Kelly could be playing the part of, I'm just a wife in a happy marriage with this young guy, and I have no idea that he's going to go and beat you up so that later he doesn't do the same with me. During the scene, which he also directed, she says he choked her aggressively with his genitalia until she couldn't breathe, even though she was given no heads up, so it would be a rough scene. Or no heads up that it would be a rough scene. Like many of the other women who have come forward against Madison, she also accuses him of pressuring her into doing a cream pie, which she says was sprung on her in the middle of the scene so that she couldn't say no or else risk not getting paid. So this dude, at least this article makes it seem like this dude is doing real cream pies. That's not a traditional practice in the adult entertainment industry. At least that was not my experience. From my experience, they utilized pina colada mix. Actually, when I came out and I told people about that, there were people who got mad at me for revealing that little industry secret. But it's true. At least it's true if you set your boundaries in advance and you demand a certain level of respect as an adult actress. But these girls, they're being conditioned to think that they can't say no, that they're not going to get paid unless they agree to something that breaches their boundaries. And if these allegations are true, this dude is trying to get somebody pregnant. Quote, I said okay to so many things I wasn't okay with because I wanted it all to be over, she remembers. I thought, I'll get paid and it will make this experience be worth it in some way, even though it's awful. If I don't get paid for what I've already went through, I'd be so devastated. I wonder how much she was paid. I wonder what their going rate is. She adds, he didn't even have the decency to give me the opportunity to consent. He just took it. He basically said, you're my property now because I'm paying you to do this, so I can just use your body however I want to get off. That is what made me feel violated the most. Afterward, Wilde sprinted to the bathroom and burst into tears. I had been holding in my tears from the beginning, and I didn't break in order to finish the scene, she says. I finished the scene, called my agent, and he said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm going to need to have a talk with him because he's done this to other girls and it's not okay. And I thought, why did you send me here if you knew he'd done this to other girls? I'm still shocked about that to this day. Who's the damn agent? Oh, Wilde's agent at the time was John O'Byrne from East Coast Talent, the same man who 2 years later sent his client Annabelle Red to Madison. O'Byrne did not respond to multiple requests for comment. Of course not. Shit. Yeah. This is horrible if it's true. I mean, if it's not true, this is definitely incredibly creative marketing for this content by the Madisons. Because a lot of people, they would read this and they'd be like, ooh, I've got to see this scene, you know? But if it's true, it's horrible. But I wonder who prompted this article to be written. Let's see. You know, I'll have to investigate that. I'm going to see who each and every girl is currently represented by. Because this could also be agency wars. Someone's trying to take out East Coast talent. He doesn't care. Ryan Madison is an evil piece of shit rapist. But John O'Byrne from East Coast Talent is just as complicit in the rape of so many girls, says Wild. You're sending your girls to do scenes with a rapist just to get your fucking cut. That's what she said. Apparently, Madison's behavior is well known amongst porn agents. We haven't sent girls to him for about 2.5 years, one of the adult industry's top agents told the Daily Beast. The girls can feel very isolated out there. Way the hell out in the middle of nowhere. Well, they're not in the middle of nowhere, they're just not in the urban metropolis. It's cheaper to live out there if you want to have a big house. Or 2 houses in the case of the Madisons. The thing is, everybody knows it. I've mentioned it to other agents before, but some are still willing to take the risk. All right, now we got to go to Monica Sage. This part of the article is titled, There Was Blood Everywhere. Monica Sage was 19. All these girls are 19. I guess this is for like what? Their teen fidelity? Must be for the teen line. But that's what I'm saying. You know, if you're a teen, your brain's not even fully developed yet. So you don't need to be in the adult entertainment industry. This whole podcast, let the message be, don't go into the adult entertainment industry. At least not until you're over the age of 25. Because your brain's not fully developed. Your body is not prepared to take that sort of, you know, that sort of aggressiveness. Ryan Madison, let's see what he's looking like nowadays. He probably has to work out every day, especially days that he doesn't do a scene because his body's conditioned to have sex every day. Maybe Kelly doesn't want to do it with him anymore. So, you know, he's always on the prowl looking for teens. It's not funny, but it is. Okay, so Monica Sage. Monica Sage was 19 and green when she shot with Madison 2 years back. After the long ride out to the Madison's home, she was introduced to wife Kelly, who interviewed her for their website, as well as the makeup artist. She says the pre-sex portion, including shooting pretty girls or promotional photos used to market the scene, was fun, but that Madison's entire demeanor changed once they were alone. He just went from looking at me as this beautiful woman to looking at me as if I was prey. It was very disturbing, she says. Really? It was really disturbing to you? Has she not been on a porn set before? It was an anal scene, and Sage politely told him to go slow and be careful when they began so that she could warm up. He didn't. He shoved himself inside. We're not going to read that one. The gist of it is he was too rough and he ripped her, allegedly. Well, guess what, Monica? Your rear really wasn't designed for this kind of activity to begin with. I wonder if she learned her lesson. Let's see. Let's see if she's still in the industry. Miss Sage Official is her Twitter. I'm going to go take a look. I wonder if any of these women learned their lesson. Or if they're going to stay in the industry for some more punishment. Let's see. You want to know what her pinned tweet is? It's from 2018, though. Her pinned tweet answers my question. It says, can't stop, won't stop. So she's going to keep going, I guess, until something else bad happens to her. Her most recent tweet says, on a more positive note, thank you to everyone who has supported me and stood by my side. Sharing my story was far from easy, but I'm happy I could help protect others from enduring what I had to. Lots of love. She didn't learn her lesson. No, not Monica Sage. So let's move on. All right, Arabelle Raphael. This segment is titled, And Then He's Putting On a Turban. Now, Arabelle Raphael's situation is a little bit different because she's of Middle Eastern descent. Yet, she's in the adult entertainment industry. Again, is this creative marketing? Or are these authentic accounts of abuse? We're only going to know if Ryan Madison ends up in jail. Arabelle Raphael's Ryan Madison story stands out for a few reasons. First, she was 27, so a bit older than his usual targets. Well, not as old as Kelly. Kelly's 52. Arabelle is close to half of Kelly's age, but let's continue. Though she was still by no means considered a mainstream performer. And it involves a wildly racist scenario between the white Madison and Iranian-American Raphael. Not as racist as the scene with Skin Diamond and Get My Belt. Or is this considered more racist? Y'all decide. Quote, I'm not white, and I was put in a non-consensual race scene. They said it was a stoner movie. And I got out there and he said, hey, you're in a belly dancing outfit, she recalls. And then he's putting on a turban and black coal around his eyes and was talking about how we should have AK-47s to make it more authentic looking. Basically, just saying effed up shit about my ethnicity right in front of me. Madison offered her a shot on 5 occasions, and she kept saying no. She says, quote, this dude was trying to get me wasted, she says. Then we're at the end of the scene and he's like, I'm gonna come inside you. And I'm like, no! You don't pull that in the middle of a scene on camera. This is something you discussed before. And she's right. She's right. So I'm trying to say no. He's pressuring me and I'm not feeling comfortable. Because I'm on camera and he's pressuring me and he comes inside me and I've said no multiple times. It took Raphael a long time to realize, oh, I said no multiple times and this person came inside me anyway, ignoring me. And she was traumatized, so I can see why it did take her a long time to realize that her boundaries were breached. But again, this is a lesson that you should not go into the adult entertainment industry, isn't it? Now let's see if she is still in the adult entertainment industry after all this. What's her name? Arabelle Raphael? Let's see. Yep. And she's doing content for her OnlyFans. Yep. She's still going. Despite it all. So Ryan Madison, I guess he's going to jail. If all that's true. I guess he's going to jail because he has breached boundaries. He's coming inside of everybody. Again, I wonder how many kids he has.